There used to be a coven of witches in the caves beneath Cemetery Hill. The whole forest never smelt the same since.
Who has summoned the Witch of the Forest? Oh, it is you, Sir Fortescue. Forgive me, my lord. I have never met a real hero. Forgive me, just an old lady's little joke. In truth, I am glad to see you, Sir Fortescue. I need 7 pieces of amber that are hidden in the ant's nest. Bring them to me, and I can grant you a special reward. I will only offer you this quest this once. Are you willing to give it a try? Sorry, didn't I mention I'd have to shrink you to the size of an insect? Now hurry back.
Run, little man! Run, little man! If the master found it now, he would crush it like a bag. Hark! We can hear the soldier ants approaching. Onward and meet your tiny nemesis.
For releasing me, sir. My people wish only to live our lives in blissful harmony with nature. But alas, the wicked Ant Queen has many of us imprisoned. Rescue my people, Mr. Fortescue, and you will be richly rewarded. I shall open the entrance for you. These fireflies are my friends. They will light your way through the darkness below.
This magic portal was crafted by the fairies. It appears to have been created to prevent something escaping from the tunnels below. Our bone-headed protagonist. This formidable serpent was somehow lured into a tiny chest and trapped by men working for King Peregrine. Probably it must have been a magic chest, because really, this is one huge serpent to fit in such a small box. But anyhow, the king believed he had imprisoned the evil serpent of Gallowmere, when in fact it was kindly serpent Lord Cole Katura that he had unboxed. Katura is probably going to have a big hug for whoever sets him free, and an ever tighter one for their enemies. Winner of the Jolliest Witch in Gallowmere Award for the 4th consecutive year, Wartilda actually runs a successful potions business and makes cool cheddar from her pumpkin spice profiteering. The other witches are secretly jealous. Once part of the infamous Cemetery Hill Coven, Imelda was ostracized by her sisters when she refused to stop using the communal cauldron to prepare her notoriously pungent lunchtime brews. She now resides in the Enchanted Earth, where no one complains. Or at least if they do, she just turns them into a toad, and seriously, do not lick those toads. A proud and fair race, the fairies were rulers of the underground world until that fateful day when the Ant Queen invaded their turf. Honestly, we don't know why the ants have them imprisoned, but for some reason, fairy magic doesn't seem to work against ants. Seems odd to me, but hey, I don't make the rules. These once good-natured pumpkins fell victim to the Pumpkin King's toxic influence. They're still tasty, if you can convince them not to murder you. But perhaps you should think about things from their perspective. Well, how would you feel if someone wanted to scoop out your brains and carve a big, goofy smile across your face? Fresh off the vine, these baby boomers are in too much of a hurry to grow up. They can't wait to spread their pumpkin seed. A terrifying reminder of the perils of competitive vegetable growing, this sinister squash has become a terrible influence on his once peaceful pumpkin. Xerox magic has created the ultimate superfood. This is one ghoulish gourd that's simply bustin' for a dustin'. If you are brave enough to go beyond this point, you will enter the chamber of the dreaded Queen Ant.
Come! As a reward, I can grant you passage to the Hall of Heroes. I've never been there myself, but I've heard they got a free bar.
Bless me, if it isn't Daniel, Lord of the Ants. Hold still, and I'll remove the shrink spell. Oh, lovely, lovely Amber. Here you are, Sir Knight. A wart-covered and cabbage-smelling old crone I may be, but I always keep my promises. I grant you my reward.
Look at you running around in your bones, Fortescue. You're so nouveau day. I, Ravenhooves, last prince of the centaurs, have not galloped the earth in over 10,000 years. Do yourself a favor, Fortescue. Take my longbow, more powerful than a crossbow. The option of flaming arrows, it is truly the weapon of noblemen. Congratulations! You don't quite have my breeding, Mr. Johnny-come-lately, but there's hope for you yet.
villagers. The master possesses them. It mustn't hurt them. Hurt guards, though. They seek out an object of great power.
These rats seem harmless, but they have tiny fingers, and they're probably plotting something terrible. Each rat you squish is an act of treason against the mighty Rat King Derek. Hypnotized citizens of a once thriving town. They'll happily invite you in for tea, but if they ask to borrow a shovel, you should probably decline. Although accustomed to letting her soldiers do all the fighting, this is one tough bug lady. She's an acid-spitting queen who will fight to her last gasp to defend the brood of insect infants incubating inside her egg sac. Oh, if only there was an airlock you could flush her out of. Is this really what the ancient dragons evolved into? Their dreadful ancestors would be ashamed. Don't lick their backs. That's a good way to end up in the loony bin. No, really, just don't. Poisonous pollen protects these plants from predators. Just to be safe, they fire it at everything. Can never be too careful these days. Fascinating creatures, ants. Did you know they're as old as the dinosaurs? That they talk using chemicals? Or that they share a hive mind? And contrary to popular belief, they actually have no interest whatsoever in your pants. Blacksmith's Monthly. Old man Willie Green of Gallowstown was awarded Smithy of the Season by our readers. His outstanding casts have produced many intricate and hard-wearing iron goods and sculptures. Willie only uses the finest of metals in his work, and is particularly noted for his magnificent busts. Old man Willie was quoted as saying, "Aye, when I get pumping on me bellows, there's no stopping me. It's all in the rhythm, up and down, up and down. I've always been inspired by the stories of Stanya Ironhewer, the greatest smithy there ever was." A crucifix once stood here, but the mayor took it. Find a replacement and see how the church should really look. The rune key is held aloft by the flow of water from the fountain. You may have to wait for the next drought. Bust of Mr. Shanks, landlord of the Troll's Head. To clean the statue, lower the pedestal.
Hurry, comrades, tear this place apart. If we don't find the shadow artifact, Lord Zarek will have us mocking out the demons for the next millennium.
History of Gallowmere, Volume 1. During the dark time that was Gallowmere's not too distant past, it was King Peregrine who thwarted Xerok the Necromancer and his plan to enslave the land. Xerok, once the king's mage, had fallen out of favor with the ruler for conducting outlandish experiments on the bodies of the dead. It was said that deep within Peregrine Castle, the dead were restless. The dead are to be honored, not kept as the playthings of alchemists, declared King Peregrine as he banished Xerok from the castle. All of Xerok's living dead were routed out and destroyed. Xerok, being an unforgiving soul, went into hiding and vowed to wreak his revenge on the king. History of Gallowmere, Volume 2. Rumors of ill-doing and dark deeds abounded through the land of Gallowmere. It was whispered that Xerok had employed the aid of shadowy demons to help build a vast castle. Under the cover of night, Xerok's dark army spilled forth from their corrupt haven. The army marched south across the Silver Mountains and through the Silver Woods. Soon afterwards, even the Pumpkin Lands belonged to Xerok. The folk of Gallowstown cried out for help. "Save us, good King Peregrine." Retaliation was swift and violent. King Peregrine's forces, led by the brave Sir Fortescue, drove Xerok's army back from Gallowstown. Oh, there was much rejoicing, but the war was not yet over. History of Gallowmere, Volume 3. News that Xerok's army had now taken the Floodlands caused much concern. From this vantage point, Xerok could march west to take the Enchanted Forest. This sacred place would prove a bitter defeat if it fell into the hands of the evil sorcerer. It was Sir Dan Fortescue who once again led the king's militia to rid the demon host from the land. Yet the evil wizard was cunning and had prepared an ambush. Titanic battle ensued, of which history has never seen the like. It is said that the day would have gone to Xerok, but for the skill and valor of one man. Fortescue led the charge deep into the massed ranks of the undead, felling Xerok's bodyguard, the fearful Lord Coddoc, and before finally succumbing to his own mortal wounds, slew the traitorous sorcerer with a mighty sweep of his sword. History of Gallowmere, Volume 4. The forces of evil were destroyed, but at a terrible price. None but a handful of the king's militia returned from that field. Gallowmere lost a whole generation of young men that day, including Canny Tim, the legendary crossbowman, and Fortescue's second-in-command, who fell in the first volley of arrows. Xerok's body was never found, though if it lies unmourned in an unmarked grave, then no one in Gallowmere would shed a tear. The shadow demons that had fallen under Xerok's banner were unnatural creatures that did not belong in the world of mortal men. The king declared that they be banished, entombed under the pure earth of the enchanted earth. Imprisoned within an impregnable box of the king's design, the demons were buried deep underground. Their tomb was sealed with a magical device that has since come to be known as the Shadow Artifact. Heroes from History, a retrospective. Chapter 1. In addition to being the strongest man who ever lived, Stanier Ironhewer was unsurpassed in his skill as a blacksmith. He was equally happy pounding on his anvil at home as he was pounding on someone's head in battle. It was said that his only fear was the end of the village smithy as the focus of manufacture in favor of more centralized units. As if. Chapter 2. Born a humble peasant to one of the nomadic tribes from the Eastlands, Bloodmanoth Skullcleaver gathered an army of horsemen and swept over half the civilized world. When he finally died, attempting a single-handed attack on a garrison in the north while armed only with a spike on his helmet, he was the richest and most powerful peasant of his day. Chapter 3. Carl Sterngard spent most of his formative years under siege at his family castle. With his impregnable magic shield, Sterngard's motto was, "The best form of attack is defense." Sadly, his shield couldn't protect him against poor eating habits, and he died during a post-battle feast while swallowing a large sausage he had failed to chew. Chapter 4. Truly the hero's hero, Woden the Mighty was fearless, single-minded, and uncompromising. Unbeaten in combat, he inspired raw fear in friends and enemies alike, not to mention in close family members and pets. Chapter 5. Trained from birth in all forms of combat, Imanzi Shongama was the warrior queen of a tribe of Amazons. The bold and the beautiful Shongama banished all males from her territory, except the handful she kept on to mow the lawns of her people. Chapter 6. A full-time mother and homemaker, Megwin Stormbinder had to defend her settlement from barbarian raiders while the menfolk were away on a hunting trip. She fought off repeated attacks, armed only with a pitchfork and a rolling pin, and with one arm holding her baby. Legend has it that the gods, impressed by her indomitable courage, intervened and added thunderbolts to her arsenal. She won the battle with a couple of bolts to spare on her husband when he finally returned. Chapter 7. Dirk Steadfast was a fearsome opponent thanks to his magic sword and a firmly held belief that only women defend themselves. Real men are always on the attack. He was a friend and contemporary of Carl Sterngard and was with him even to the end. It was whilst Steadfast was explaining his views on Sterngard's shield during a feast that the latter had his tragic and inexplicable accident. Chapter 8. Descended from the finest centaur Bloodstock, Ravenhooves the Archer was the last prince of his people. A proud and haughty aristocrat, he was an accomplished hunter, sportsman, duelist, playboy, raconteur, and 3 times Derby winner. Chapter 9. Captain of the militia in the time of King Peregrine, Sir Daniel Fortescue found fame when he killed the renegade wizard Zerok. A career soldier raised in the royal household, he was adored by the men under his command, and renowned for his loyalty to Galamir. It was said that Fortescue was always destined for greatness. With his square jaw, steely gaze, and thick shock of hair as black as raven's wings, he looked every inch the hero. Tourist's Guide to Galamir, Part 1. The land of Galamir is a wondrous land of breathtaking sights and adventure. If it's beauty you are looking for, be sure to check out the sights of the Enchanted Forest. Scale the heights and see the nests of giant dragon birds. Seek out weird and wonderful plant life. Go ooh and ah at the sight of baby dragon toads splashing about in the crystal clear ponds. Why not take a walk through the Pumpkin Valley? Pumpkin is Galomir's favorite dish, and about now the valley is just bulging under the weight of young podlings awaiting harvest. Tourist Guide to Galamir, Part 2. If it's mystery you're looking for, then the seasoned adventurer should travel to the ruins of King Peregrine's castle. Yes, this is the fortress from which the fabled King Peregrine once hailed. It is said that the king's crown was lost in the dungeons below the castle, and that the ghost of the regent himself now haunts these cold stone passageways. Spooky. Why not take the swamps and seek out the mythical town of Mellowmead? This place was once said to be a place of fantastical arcane alchemy, but an age has passed since it was consumed by the murky swamps. Perhaps great treasure awaits any adventurer that can locate its watery resting place. To whom it may concern, I must make haste, for Xeroc's men will be here within the hour. I have taken the crucifix from the church. It is the key to a key. I used the cross to make the attached cast. Then I had it destroyed. It is my hope that this cast falls into the hands of a just and good hero. Signed, the town mayor.